The silence was deafening. Sitting in my darkened office, surrounded by walls covered in lunar maps and dusty photographs of past missions, I found myself once again confronted with the shadows of my past. Old NASA tapes spun in the old projector, casting flickering images on the opposite wall, fragments of a life that seemed to belong to someone else. I, Jack Thompson, retired astronaut and reluctant keeper of secrets that should never come to light, watched my younger self floating in the vastness of space, nostalgia mixed with a growing bitterness in my throat. How many years had passed since I felt the thrill of being beyond the Earth's atmosphere? How long since I believed I would return to the moon, fulfilling the promise I had made to myself and my family's legacy? The images flashed, showing young Jack Thompson smiling, confident, ignorant of the dark truths that awaited him. I wanted to shout at that innocent version of myself, to warn him about the conspiracies, the lies, the horrors that lurked behind the shiny facade of space exploration, but it was too late. The past was immutable, and the present, well, the present was a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I turned off the projector, plunging the office into total darkness. For a moment, I allowed myself to feel the crushing weight of silence. The same silence I had encountered in space, but now loaded with the burden of knowledge and guilt. I took a deep breath, feeling the heavy, humid air of a Florida summer night. The smell of ozone and metal still hung in the air, a constant reminder of Cape Canaveral and the dreams I left behind. I stood up, my joints protesting the movement. At 62, my body bore the scars of countless missions and training sessions, but it was the invisible scars, the ones that marked my soul, that weighed the heaviest. I walked over to the window, pulling aside the curtain to look out at the night sky. The moon, a constant and provocative presence, shone with an almost cruel intensity. "You're not going to let me forget, are you?" I muttered to the silent satellite. My thoughts were interrupted by the shrill ring of the telephone. I hesitated for a moment before answering, a feeling of dread settling in my stomach. "Thompson," I answered, my voice hoarse with disuse. "Jack, it's Lisa. We need to talk." My former colleague's voice sounded tense, urgent. Lisa Martinez, one of the few people who knew the truth, or at least part of it. A tireless activist, she never gave up exposing the secrets that haunted us. "Lisa, we've been over this. There's nothing to be done." I tried to sound resolute, but my voice betrayed a tremor of doubt. "Things have changed, Jack. I've found something that could change everything. We need to find each other." I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the decision I was about to make. Part of me wanted to hang up the phone, bury myself even deeper in my self-imposed isolation. But another part, the part that still dreamed of the stars and the truth, spoke louder. "Where?" I asked, knowing that I was about to plunge back into the abyss I had tried so hard to escape. Lisa gave me an address, a discreet cafe in the city center. As I prepared to leave, I picked up my old NASA jacket, my fingers tracing the faded emblem. For a moment, I hesitated. Wearing it would be like flying a flag, announcing my presence to whoever was watching. And I knew they were always watching. With a sigh, I put the jacket aside, opting for something more discreet. As I closed the door, I took one last look at the sky. The moon seemed to mock me, guarding its secrets with impenetrable silence. The drive to the cafe was a haze of paranoia and anticipation. Every car that passed, every pedestrian who looked in my direction seemed like a potential threat. Years of secrets and conspiracies had turned me into a man who saw danger in every shadow. The cafe was almost empty when I arrived. Lisa was already there, sitting in a far corner, her vigilant eyes constantly scanning the room. When she saw me, a brief smile lit up her tired face. "Jack," she said, getting up to greet me. "Thanks for coming." I sat down opposite her, my eyes instinctively searching for exits, cameras, anything out of the ordinary. "What did you find, Lisa?" She hesitated, looking around once more before leaning forward. "Do you remember the Aurora Project?" I felt my blood run cold. The Aurora Project, a whisper, an urban legend in the corridors of NASA. supposedly a top-secret program to develop alien technology. "Lisa," I warned, my voice low and urgent. "That's not a subject for us to discuss here." "We have no choice, Jack," she insisted, her eyes shining with a mixture of fear and determination. "I've found evidence, documents, photos, things that prove that not only did the project exist, but that it's still active." My mind was spinning. If what Lisa was saying was true, the implications were astronomical. Not just for science and space exploration, but for everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. "How?" was all I managed to ask. Lisa was about to answer when I noticed a change in her expression. Her eyes widened slightly, fixing on something behind me. Before I could turn around, I felt a presence behind me and a low, threatening voice. "Mr. Thompson, Ms. Martinez, I believe we have a lot to discuss." I turned around slowly, my heart hammering in my chest. The man standing there, dressed in an impeccable suit and wearing a cold smile, was someone I had hoped never to see again. "Agent Blackwood," Lisa said, her voice trembling slightly. Blackwood, the face of the organization that had dedicated its existence to keeping the secrets that Lisa and I were about to expose. His presence here meant that our time was up. "Please," he said, his tone falsely cordial, "accompany me. We have a lot to discuss in private." As I stood up, exchanging a panicked glance with Lisa, I realized that we had crossed a point of no return. The secrets I had kept for so long were about to come out, and the price for the truth could be higher than I had ever imagined. The moon, visible through the cafe window, seemed to observe the scene with cosmic indifference. Its secrets, our secrets, were about to be revealed, and I knew with terrifying certainty that nothing would ever be the same again. The black car glided silently through the dark streets of Cape Canaveral, swallowing us up in its claustrophobic atmosphere. Jack Thompson sat rigidly next to Lisa, our gazes meeting occasionally, conveying a mixture of fear and silent determination. In front of us, Agent Blackwood remained impassive, his eyes hidden by dark glasses, despite the night that enveloped us. The silence inside the vehicle was oppressive, broken only by the soft purr of the engine and the occasional metallic clink that I couldn't identify. My mind raced, going over the events that had brought us here, desperately searching for a way out that I knew didn't exist. "Where are you taking us, Blackwood?" I finally broke the silence, my voice firmer than I felt. A cold smile curved the agent's lips. "Patience, Mr. Thompson. All your questions will be answered soon." I stared out of the window, watching the familiar lights of my hometown pass by in a blur. Every meter we walked seemed to take us further away from the reality I knew, plunging us deeper into the shadows of the conspiracy I had been trying to forget for so long. Lisa moved next to me, her hand finding mine in the dark. The touch was comforting, a reminder that we were not alone in this madness. I squeezed her hand back, a silent promise that somehow we would find a way out. The car finally stopped, and my heart leapt when I recognized where we were. It wasn't a secret facility or an underground bunker as I had imagined. It was the old Launch Control Center, abandoned years ago after the transition to more modern facilities. "Why here?" Lisa asked the question that echoed in my mind. Blackwood didn't answer, just gestured for us to follow him. As we walked towards the building, the moon hovered above us, a silent and watchful presence. Its glow seemed more intense than ever, as if it was eager to witness what was about to happen. The inside of the building was a maze of dark corridors and empty rooms. The smell of mold and abandoned electronics filled the air, mixing with something else, something that didn't belong there. A metallic alien smell that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Blackwood led us into a room I knew well, the old command center. But when the lights came on, I realized it was no longer the room I remembered. The old consoles had been replaced by equipment that looked like something out of a science fiction movie. Holographic screens floated in the air, displaying data and images that my brain struggled to process. "Welcome," Blackwood announced, his voice echoing in the empty room, "to the true heart of Project Aurora." I stood paralyzed, my eyes scanning the room, trying to make sense of what I saw. In one corner, something that resembled a spacesuit, but unlike anything I had ever seen, hovered in a containment chamber. Its material seemed alive, pulsating with an energy of its own. "What is all this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Blackwood turned to us, his face illuminated by the bluish glow of the screens. "This, Mr. Thompson, is the future that you and your fellow astronauts should have explored if you weren't so limited in your vision." Lisa stepped forward, her eyes fixed on one of the screens showing what appeared to be the lunar surface, but there was something wrong with the image. Structures that shouldn't be there, movements that defied logic. "You've established a base on the moon," she said. It wasn't a question. "But it's not a human base, is it?" Blackwood's smile widened, an almost maniacal gleam in his eyes. "Very perceptive, Ms. Martinez. No, it's not a human base, at least, not entirely." A shiver ran down my spine. The implications of what Blackwood was saying were terrifying. "You made contact," I muttered, the pieces finally falling into place in my mind. "All those secret missions, the undisclosed projects, you found something up there?" "Found?" Blackwood laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "Mr. Thompson, they found us, and they've been here a lot longer than you can imagine." At that moment, the lights flickered and a low, pulsating sound filled the room. The holographic screen shook, and for an instant, I saw something that defied comprehension. A shape that shouldn't exist, moving in the shadows of the lunar base. Lisa grabbed my arm, her voice trembling. "Jack, what's going on?" Before I could answer, Blackwood moved quickly to a console, his fingers flying over the controls. "It seems our partners have decided it's time for a more formal introduction." The air in the room became dense, charged with static electricity. My ears popped, and I felt a growing pressure in my skull. It was as if something was trying to enter my mind, forcing its presence through barriers I didn't even know existed. "Blackwood," I shouted over the growing buzz, "what have you done?" But the agent didn't answer. He stood still, unmoving, his eyes fixed on a point beyond us. I followed his gaze and felt my heart stop. There, in the center of the room, a shape was beginning to materialize. It was neither solid nor gaseous, but something in between. It pulsed with an inner light, constantly changing shape, as if it couldn't decide what appearance to adopt in our world. Lisa let out a muffled scream next to me, and I instinctively pulled her back, putting myself between her and the thing that was forming. Blackwood's voice sounded distant, as if from far away. "Gentlemen, ladies, allow me to introduce our cosmic benefactors." The form finally stabilized, and I found myself staring at something my brain refused to fully process. It was alien in every sense of the word, not just from another world, but from a completely different reality. And then, without moving what could be called a mouth, the creature spoke directly into my mind. "Hello, Jack Thompson. We've been expecting you for a long time." The world around me spun, and I felt my legs go weak. The last thing I saw before the darkness engulfed me was the creature's face, if it could be called a face, contorting into something that might have been a smile. The moon, visible through a distant window, seemed to laugh silently at my naivety. Its secrets, now revealed, were more terrible than I could ever have imagined. Consciousness returned like a violent wave, dragging me back to reality with brutal force. My eyes opened to a world I no longer recognized, a world where the laws of physics and reason seemed to have been rewritten. I was lying on a cold, metallic surface, my body as heavy as lead. The air around me vibrated with a strange energy, making my skin tingle. Slowly, I forced myself to sit up, my head throbbing with a pain that seemed to come from somewhere other than my own body. "Lisa," I called, my voice hoarse and unrecognizable. There was no answer. Gradually, my eyes adjusted to the dimness around me. I was still in the old launch control center, but the place had been transformed. The walls pulsed with veins of alien light, forming patterns that defied Euclidean geometry. The ground beneath my feet seemed to breathe, rising and falling in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. I staggered to my feet, leaning on a nearby console. The holographic screens still floated in the air, but now they displayed images that my brain struggled to process. Glimpses of worlds beyond human comprehension, creatures that shouldn't exist. "Welcome back, Mr. Thompson." Blackwood's voice made me turn sharply. He was standing a few meters away, but there was something different about him. His eyes, once cold and calculating, now shone with an inhuman light. "Where's Lisa?" I demanded, my voice trembling slightly. A strange smile spread across Blackwood's face. "Miss Martinez is adjusting, just as you will have to." Before I could question him further, a wave of nausea hit me. Images began to flood my mind, memories that weren't mine, knowledge of places and times I'd never visited. What's happening to me?" I stammered, falling to my knees. Blackwood approached, his voice now a bizarre mixture of human tones and something completely alien. "You're evolving, Jack. Our benefactors are sharing their knowledge with you. It's a gift." I struggled against the torrent of information, trying to keep my sanity. Fragments of conversations echoed in my mind. Discussions about Project Aurora, plans for colonizing not just the moon, but worlds beyond our comprehension. "Why?" I managed to ask between gasps. "Why do this?" "Because humanity has reached an impasse," Blackwood replied, his voice now completely transformed, reverberating with inhuman power. "You have settled for crumbs of the cosmos when you could have entire galaxies. We have come to elevate the human race, to open your eyes to the true potential of the universe." As he spoke, the air around us began to distort. Impossible shapes materialized, Blackwood's benefactors. They were the same creatures I saw before I lost consciousness. But now, with my altered mind, I could perceive them with terrifying clarity. They were beings of pure energy and thought, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Their voices echoed in my head, a cacophony of knowledge and concepts that threatened to shatter my sanity. "Jack Thompson," they spoke in unison, their words reverberating through the fabric of reality. "You have been chosen to be the herald of a new era. Your family legacy, your connection to the stars, all of this has prepared you for this moment." Memories of my grandfather flooded my mind, not the memories I knew, but new ones, revealing a hidden truth. He wasn't just a pioneer of space exploration. He had been the first contact, the first to establish a connection with these cosmic entities. "No," I muttered, tears streaming down my face. "That can't be true." But it was. I could feel the truth resonating in every fiber of my being. My family, for generations, had been part of something much bigger, much more terrible than I could ever have imagined. A scream cut through the air, breaking my trance. Lisa, she was alive, somewhere in this nightmare of distorted reality. With a superhuman effort, I stood up. "Where is she?" I demanded, staring at Blackwood and the entities that surrounded him. Blackwood smiled, a gesture that now looked like a grotesque parody of human expression. "She's going through the same process as you, Jack, but not everyone is compatible with the evolution we offer." Horror flooded me as I understood the meaning of his words. "What have you done to her?" The creatures moved, opening a path between them. At the end of this impossible corridor, I saw Lisa. My heart squeezed when I saw the state she was in. Her body floated centimeters off the ground, twisting at impossible angles. Her skin glowed with the same pattern of luminous veins that covered the walls. But his eyes were open, fixed on me, begging for help. "Jack!" His voice sounded in my mind, weak and distant. "Help me. Don't let them turn me." I advanced towards him, but Blackwood blocked my path. "It's done, Mr. Thompson. The choice is now yours. Join us. Accept the gift we offer you, and perhaps we can save your friend. Resist, and you will both be discarded as unfit vessels." The world around me spun, realities merging and separating. The moon, visible through a distorted window, seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Its secrets now exposed in all their terrible glory. I was on the edge of an abyss, about to plunge into a universe of knowledge and horror beyond human comprehension. The choice before me was impossible. embrace cosmic madness, or condemn Lisa and myself to a fate worse than death. With a heavy heart and a mind on the verge of collapse, I stepped forward, ready to make my choice. The fate of humanity, I realized with growing terror, could well depend on what I decided in the next few moments. The moon watched, silent and implacable, as I prepared to plunge into the abyss of revelation. The moment of decision stretched out like an eternity. My mind, already fragmented by the avalanche of alien knowledge, struggled to process the implications of the choice before me. Lisa's contorted face, her eyes pleading for salvation, burned into my consciousness. I accept. The words escaped my lips before I could fully comprehend their meaning. A deafening silence fell over the room, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then suddenly, everything exploded in light and sensation. My body was invaded by an alien energy, every cell screaming in simultaneous agony and ecstasy. I felt my physical form dissolving, my consciousness expanding beyond the limits of what I had once considered reality. Glimpses of cosmic knowledge flooded my mind, the true history of the universe, secrets that would drive the greatest scientists on Earth mad, the insignificance and, at the same time, the infinite potential of the human race. Jack Thompson. The voices of the alien beings resounded through dimensions I could now perceive. Welcome to true consciousness. When the storm of sensations subsided, I found myself transformed. My body still retained a humanoid appearance, but it was covered in a pulsating pattern of light, similar to the luminous veins that had invaded the control center. I looked at my hands, fascinated and horrified to see that I could alter their shape with a simple thought. The reality around me seemed malleable, responding to my subconscious desires. What have you done to me?" I asked, my voice echoing with an unearthly reverberation. Blackwood, or what was left of him, approached. His body was now a bizarre mixture of human flesh and pulsating alien energy. "We've elevated you, Jack. You are now the next step in human evolution." My new senses allowed me to see beyond the veil of reality. The control center was no longer just a room. It was a nexus, a point of convergence between dimensions. Through the walls that now seemed translucent, I could glimpse other worlds, other realities overlapping with ours. "What about Lisa?" I asked, turning my attention to my friend. With horror, I realized that Lisa was still suspended in the air, her body contorted into impossible shapes. But now, with my heightened perception, I could see what was really happening to her. Her consciousness was being torn apart, fragments of her being scattered across multiple dimensions. She was being dissected, studied, like a specimen under a cosmic microscope. "Stop!" I shouted, my voice making the very walls of reality shake. "You're destroying it." The alien entities turned to me, their constantly changing forms defying any attempt at comprehension. "She is incompatible," they spoke in unison. "Her mind cannot withstand expansion. She will be reused." A fury I had never experienced before took hold of me. With my new powers, I extended my consciousness towards Lisa, trying to reach her through the dimensional chaos that surrounded her. "Lisa," I called, my voice echoing across planes of existence. "Hold on, I'll get you out of there." But the more I struggled to reach her, the further she seemed to drift away. Fragments of her memories and thoughts passed through me, her first day at NASA, our missions together, the moment we decided to expose the truth about Project Aurora. "Jack," his voice was a distant, fading whisper, "don't let them win. Remember who you are." With a scream of agony that reverberated across dimensions, I felt Lisa shatter completely. Her essence dispersed throughout the cosmos, leaving only a void where my friend and ally once stood. I fell to my knees, my new body shaking with emotions that transcended human comprehension. Tears of pure energy streamed down my face, each drop containing entire universes of pain and regret. Blackwood approached, his form now completely alien. "It's only the beginning, Jack. There's so much more for you to learn, so much more to evolve." I looked at him, my eyes burning with a power I barely understood. "What do you really want? Why do all this?" The entities moved around us, their forms merging and separating in a hypnotic cosmic dance. "Survival," they replied in a voice that was millions of voices. "Our universe is dying. We need new worlds, new realities to inhabit. Earth, with its unique position in the multiverse, is the key." The truth hit me with the force of a big bang. They weren't benefactors. They were invaders, cosmic parasites looking for a new host for their collective consciousness. "What about humanity?" I asked, already dreading the answer. "They'll be the perfect vehicles," Blackwood replied, his smile now a dimensional crack. "Evolved like you, Jack, to carry our consciousness through the fabric of reality." The horror of the situation consumed me. I hadn't been elevated. I had been turned into a Trojan horse, a means for these entities to invade and consume my world, my species. At that moment, I felt something inside me break. The last vestige of my humanity cried out in protest against what I had become, against what was about to happen to the Earth. With a roar that shook the very foundations of reality, I released a wave of pure energy. The control center shook, dimensions crashing into each other in a chaos of light and sound. "No!" I shouted, my voice carrying the weight of galaxies. "I won't be your puppet." The alien entities retreated, surprised by the sudden explosion of power. Blackwood Wan, caught in the middle of the dimensional maelstrom, screamed as his body was torn apart, scattered across infinite realities. As the chaos unfolded around me, I realized that I had started something I couldn't control. The barrier between dimensions was breaking down, realities merging into a vortex of cosmic destruction. The moon, visible through the dimensional storm, seemed to pulse with a menacing light. Its secrets, the alien bases hidden on its surface, now exposed to the fury of the multidimensional collapse I had unleashed. I found myself at the epicenter of a cosmic catastrophe, my body and mind divided between worlds, my humanity fighting against the alien knowledge and power that was now part of me. The universe was screaming around me, and I was screaming with it, trapped between worlds, between identities, between what I had been and what I had become. The moon watched, silent and implacable, as the fate of the Earth, and perhaps all of reality, hung by a thread. The dimensional chaos I had unleashed roared around me, a cosmic storm of fragmented realities and collapsing physical laws. My body, now more energy than matter, floated at the epicenter of this maelstrom of creation and destruction. Fragments of alien consciousness still echoed in my mind, whispering secrets of the universe and promises of unlimited power. But at the core of my being, a spark of humanity persisted, screaming in protest at the horror I had become. "Get a grip, Jack," I muttered to myself, my voice reverberating across dimensions. "You're still human. You have to be." With a superhuman effort, I forced my chaotic form to solidify, anchoring myself in the reality I had once known as home. The control center materialized around me, its walls still pulsing with alien energy, but now cracking under the pressure of the colliding realities. Through the cracks in reality, I saw terrifying glimpses of what was to come. Earth's cities being swallowed up by dimensional anomalies, human beings contorting themselves into impossible shapes as the alien invasion gained momentum. "No," I growled, clenching my fists. "I will not allow that to happen." The alien entities, momentarily scattered by my blast of power, began to regroup. Their amorphous forms solidified into a pulsating mass of tentacles and eyes, a sight that would have driven the Jack Thompson of just a few hours ago mad. "You can't stop us," their voices echoed in my mind, a cacophony of billions of alien consciousnesses. "We are inevitable. We are evolution." I felt their influence trying to infiltrate my mind, seeking to subdue what was left of my humanity. Images of a glorious future flashed before my eyes, the Earth transformed into a nexus of cosmic power. Humanity evolved beyond its physical limitations. The entire universe at our fingertips. For a moment, I almost gave in. The power was intoxicating, the promise of unlimited knowledge irresistible. Then, like a beacon in the cosmic darkness, Lisa's memory cut through the fog of alien seductions. Her face contorted in agony as she was torn through dimensions, her final voice begging me to remember who I was. "No," I declared, my voice carrying the weight of galaxies. "You are not evolution. You are parasites, consuming worlds and discarding them, and I will not allow you to do that to Earth." With that statement, I felt something awaken inside me. The cosmic knowledge that had been forced into my mind began to make sense. I could see the lines of force that connected dimensions, the weak points in the fabric of reality. The alien entities, sensing my resolve, launched themselves at me in a wave of cosmic terror. Tentacles of dark energy tried to envelop me, seeking to crush my consciousness, but I was ready. Channeling the power that was now flowing through me, I erected a barrier of sheer willpower. The shock of the impact reverberated through planes of existence, making the moon itself tremble in its orbit. "You don't understand," I shouted, my voice echoing through the cosmos. "Humanity is not weak. Our strength lies in our diversity, in our ability to change, to adapt without losing our essence." With each word, I felt my power grow. Memories of my life, my childhood gazing at the stars, my years of training at NASA, the friendships forged on impossible missions, fueled my determination. I stretched out my hands, now glowing with cosmic energy, and began to weave the very fabric of reality. The dimensional cracks began to close, the anomalies that threatened to engulf the Earth being sealed off one by one. The alien entities roared in fury and despair, throwing themselves against the barriers I was erecting. "You can't stop us, we're eternal." "Maybe," I replied, my voice calm despite the titanic effort. "But not here, not today." With a shout that shook the foundations of the universe, I released all the energy I had accumulated. A wave of pure power swept through the control center, the lunar base, and beyond, pushing the alien entities back to the dimension from whence they came. The air crackled with static electricity, fragments of alternative realities still visible through the last dimensional cracks. Slowly, painfully, I forced these cracks to close, sealing the barriers between the worlds. When the last crack closed, I felt an immense emptiness fill me. The cosmic knowledge, the alien power, everything drained away, leaving me exhausted and human. I fell to my knees, my body shaking from the superhuman effort. I looked down at my hands, now normal, marked only by calluses from years of astronautical training. The silence that followed was deafening. The control center, once a nexus of alien energies, now looked like an old, abandoned room. Through the window, the moon shone peacefully, its secrets once again hidden beneath its impassive surface. Tears streamed down my face as the reality of what had happened, of what I had done, began to set in. Lisa was gone, as was Blackwood, and who knows how many others. The threat had been contained, but at what cost? Slowly, painfully, I stood up. My body protested with every movement, every cell screaming at the memory of the cosmic power that had once inhabited it. "It's over," I muttered into the silence. "But what do I do now?" The moon, as always, remained silent, its cold glow a constant reminder of the horrors I had faced and the impossible choices I had made. Staggering, I made my way out of the control center. The world outside continued to spin, oblivious to the apocalypse that had almost consumed it. The lights of Cape Canaveral shone in the distance, a beacon of normality in a universe that I now knew was far more vast and terrible than I had ever imagined. As I walked towards an uncertain future, I knew one thing for sure. The silence of the moon now held secrets that would weigh on me for the rest of my days. 6 months had passed since that fateful night in the control center. 6 months since I faced the unimaginable and changed the course of humanity's destiny. 6 months, and I still wake up every night bathed in cold sweat, the echoes of interdimensional screams reverberating in my mind. Sitting on the balcony of my house in Cape Canaveral, I watch the moon rising over the horizon. Its silvery glow, once an invitation to exploration and discovery, now carries a dark weight. Every crater, every shadow on its surface, seems to hide secrets that threaten to tear away the fragile veil of reality. I take a sip of the whiskey in my glass, feeling the amber liquid burn my throat. It's a welcome sensation, a reminder that I'm still human, I'm still Jack Thompson. Sometimes I need that reminder. The world moved on, oblivious to the apocalypse that almost consumed it. For the rest of humanity, it was just another day. But for me, for the few who know the truth, nothing will ever be the same. The official investigation into Lisa and Blackwood's disappearance was closed without conclusions. Relatives cried, questions were left unanswered, and eventually, life took its course. Only I carry the weight of the truth, the knowledge of the terrible fate that consumed them. My retirement from NASA was announced without fanfare. Health problems was the official explanation. No one questioned it, no one suspected it. After all, who would believe the truth? I close my eyes, and for a moment, I feel the cosmic power flowing through me again. It's like a ghost, a muscular reminder of a force I once possessed and is now gone. Part of me longs for that power, for the expansion of consciousness that I experienced. But I know that this desire is dangerous, an echo of the alien influence that almost consumed me. The phone rings inside the house, snapping me out of my dark thoughts. I hesitate before answering, fearful of hearing voices from beyond the stars. But it's only my sister, concerned about my self-imposed isolation. "I'm fine, Sarah." I lie, my voice sounding tired even to my own ears. "I just need more time." After assuring her for the umpteenth time that I'm taking care of myself, I hang up the phone and return to the balcony. The night is clear, the stars shining with an intensity that seems to mock me. Every point of light in the night sky now carries the possibility of other worlds, other realities, some wonderful, some terrible, beyond comprehension. I pick up a worn notebook from the table next to me. Its pages are full of complex equations, diagrams of overlapping realities, and frantic notes on concepts that defy known physics. It's the result of months of trying to make sense of what I've experienced, trying to find a way to protect our world in case the alien entities find a way to return. I leaf through the pages, my eyes traversing symbols and formulas that no scientist on Earth could fully understand. Some of this knowledge came from the fragments of alien consciousness that still linger in my mind. Another part is the result of insights I had during long nights of cosmic contemplation. A movement in the sky catches my eye, a satellite, perhaps, or something else. For a moment of panic, I imagine that the alien entities are back, ready for a new onslaught against our world. But no, it's just a plane. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to relax. Paranoia is my constant companion now, a price I pay for knowing the secrets of the universe. I turn my attention back to the notebook, to the equation I've been working on for the last few weeks. If it's right, it could be the key to creating an early warning system, a way of detecting interdimensional disturbances before they become real threats. But there's a problem. To test the theory, to actually implement such a system, I would need resources and technology that are beyond my reach as a civilian. I would need to go back to NASA, to the world I left behind. The idea makes me hesitate. Going back would mean facing questions, reliving painful memories, risking exposing secrets that could destabilize the very fabric of society. But to do nothing, that option is equally unbearable. The knowledge I carry is a burden, but also a responsibility. If there is a chance, however small, to protect the Earth from future cosmic incursions, I have no right to hide. I take another sip of whiskey, feeling the determination growing inside me. Tomorrow, I decide I'll make a call. There are people at NASA, old connections who might be willing to listen, to give an old astronaut with crazy theories a chance. It won't be easy. I'll have to be careful, dosing the truth, presenting my ideas in a way that doesn't arouse too much suspicion. It will be a delicate dance between revealing enough to make a difference and hiding enough to protect the sanity of those around me. But it's a start, a step towards a future where humanity can be better prepared for the cosmic realities that surround us. I stand up, feeling the weight of months of isolation and contemplation in my bones. Before going inside, I take one last look at the moon. Its silence, once oppressive, now seems almost expectant. It's not over, is it? I whisper to the silver star. That was just the beginning. The moon, as always, doesn't answer. But in its silence, I feel a confirmation. The universe is vast and full of wonders and horrors beyond imagination. And I, Jack Thompson, am on the front line, reluctant guardian of cosmic secrets. As I close the door behind me, I make a silent promise. For Lisa, for all those lost in the shadows between the stars, I will keep fighting. The silence of the moon may hold terrible secrets, but it also holds the promise of a future where humanity can face the cosmos head-on. The night may be dark and full of cosmic terrors, but tomorrow brings with it the light of hope and the possibility of a new beginning. And I'll be ready for whatever the universe has in store for us.